Is it still a miniature if it looks like it's barely survived a horror movie? Let's test that theory. And guess what? I'm using oil paints for the gore this time. Why? Because nothing blends smoother than oil. Except maybe Joker's moral boundaries. Let's dive in and make these wounds look so juicy, even Harley Quinn would say, nope, I'm dating another psychopath. First things first, we need to lay down a basic skin tone. Yes, I know he used makeup, trust me on this one. For that sickly undead look, I'm using a pale flesh tone, in this case, bone white. Think someone who's spent 6 months gaming in a basement with no sunlight. Yes, I might be talking about myself. Make sure to cover all the skin areas. Even zombies need a solid foundation. Of paint, that is. Let's start by base coating these wounds with a mix of cadmium red, burnt umber and a touch of ultramarine to make it dark. We're looking for a deep red that screams festering infection and bad choices. Don't worry about being too precise, oil paints are forgiving and will blend things out later. Get the paint into every nook and cranny. You want these wounds to look like they've been through a grinder. Here's a tip for you. Use a stippling motion to create texture. This will make the wounds look raw and torn rather than smooth and clean. Because let's face it, nothing about Joker is clean. The key to using oil paint is to think of it as removing color instead of just slapping it on like you do with acrylics. Keep a piece of paper handy to wipe off any extra paint. If you're curious about my oil painting technique, be sure to check out the video in the corner. I'm using a piece of paper to clean up the extra and make it look all inflamed. Then I'll go back in with some more of that deep red to fill the wound again. Time to add some depth.
Depth.
Oh, that is super clear. So let's add some
Depth.
I'm mixing a tiny bit of black and mineral spirit into our red base coat to darken the deepest part of the wounds. Think of it as adding shadows to make the wounds look like they go way deeper than they should. Work it into the recesses and let it blend naturally. The beauty of oil is that you can feather and blend them easily. It's like the paint does the hard work for you. If you go too dark, just wipe some paint away with a clean brush or a cotton bud. Oils are forgiving, unlike Joker, who's always complicate things. After a few hours of drying, I'll go ahead and put a clear coat of varnish on the wet paint. Yes, wet. It's a good idea to try out different varnishes, since they can act differently. I'm using a low-cost varnish from my local hardware store for this project. If there's a lot of paint underneath, it might crack, but who cares when it's all about blood and gore? We're just about ready to jump into a bloody and chaotic montage of the rest of the wounds. But before that, I want to show you how to blend the skin tones and make the wounds really pop. Since the Joker has his signature makeup, I'll apply a stippling white coat all over his face and blend it a little unevenly to make some of the dead skin tone shine through. If you get a little carried away and end up blending that wound like it's a fancy cocktail, don't sweat it. Just add a splash more red and you're back in business. Piece of cake. To really make those wounds stand out, I'm going to mix in some yellow ochre and white for a sharp highlight on the loose skin. Just blend it in with a dry brush to get that perfect dead look. Now that you pretty much know how to make the wounds, I'm going to put together a montage showcasing the other nasty wounds. After that, I'll share how you take this from oof that nasty wounds to oh god what happened here. You definitely don't want to miss that. It's montage time! Whoa, that's a serious amount of painting for just 1 minute. If you're a bit squeamish and have made it this far, kudos to you. You might want to stop watching now. But for those who want to know the secret sauce, let's get into 3 extra steps to make those wounds look super intense. Step number 1. Blood splatter. Combine cadmium red with mineral spirit to create a thick mixture. Then snag your grandma's toothbrush, dip it in, then you can either flick it or tap it against your finger. Alright, let's go wild with the splatter. You can't really overdo it unless it's end up all over your white carpet. No, fuck! Step number 2. Glossy varnish. It's time to make these wounds look wet and nasty. A bit of gloss varnish over the oils will give that freshly oozing look. Because nothing says unhealed wounds like a nice sickening shine. Here's a quick bonus tip for you. While the glossy varnish is still wet, you can mix in some light brown or orange color. This will make it look like something nasty. I don't know, I'm no forensic pathologist, damn it. But here is when everything is dry. Just look at that awesome subtle color change. Oh man, it's getting really nasty. Now, step 3, and it's about to get epic. Enter the legendary Uhu glue. This is your go-to for all things gore, and it couldn't be simpler. Take some glue, blend it with a vibrant red until it thickens up. Get creative and apply it to one side, then drag it across to the other side. It's pure magic! You can also use the clear glue for a saliva effect or add some green for a toxic waste vibe maybe. Just an extra little tips from yours truly. I'm just gonna tie everything together. And there it is! A Joker so terrifying even Batman would take a sick day. If you have enjoyed this tutorial, hit the like button, subscribe, and please share with me what's the goriest model you ever painted. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go watch the blood off my hands and maybe schedule a therapy session.